Hey, courageous school leaders. Welcome to Lead Beyond Limits, the space where school leaders like you gain unfiltered insights from educators, uncover the hidden barriers holding your staff back, and get practical strategies to lead with confidence. If you're ready to tackle the real challenges in your schools and create the clarity your team needs to thrive, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and get to work.
Good evening, good afternoon, fearless school leaders. Dr. Dania here. I missed you guys last week. I had a pre-recording done, but I miss coming on live. There's something about coming on live that I really just enjoy a lot. So, anywho, welcome everyone. Welcome to Lead Beyond Limits. I'm so glad that you're here. If you're tuning in live or if you are catching the replay, I need you to take a second and drop, "Hey, I'm here" in the comments, okay? So make sure you do that if you are watching. This is a session that you do not want to skip over at all. So today's conversation is going to be a game changer, especially if you've ever felt like your leadership just disappears sometimes, like sometimes, like one moment you're sitting down looking at your and tackling your to-do list, and then the next thing it's dismissal time, the bell is ringing, right? So and you've gotten absolutely nothing done, and it seems like, and I've heard leaders say this before, that the list is then put off until the next day, right? Your list starts growing and getting longer and longer. So let's be honest. And I have done this. How many of you have had an open door policy before with your staff, right? Maybe you've been taught by some of the people that you admire, the great leaders, that great leaders should always be available and accessible, like always on, because that's what it feels like. I used to believe that too. I definitely believe that. But let me tell you something. If you are constantly on, are you truly leading? Like if you're constantly on and burning out, are you truly leading? Right? I learned the hard way. Right? I was spending way too much time answering questions and solving problems that, other people could have done. I was solving problems for people that left me no time to actually lead. And guess what? My staff was coming to me for things they absolutely could have figured out themselves, right? But it wasn't their fault. I had trained them to do that by always being accessible. And that's the conversation that we're having today, is training people on how they should engage with you. Okay. So today we're going to talk about why an open door policy might be holding you back. And more importantly, how to take back control of your time without losing trust or connection with your team, right? Because time is a valuable resource, especially as a school leader. So the open door trap, how it's derailing your leadership and how to take it back. That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the myth, the open door myth, right? Let's unpack this open door mindset a little bit more. Most leaders keep their door open because they think it makes them approachable. It helps build trust with staff. I know that was me for sure. I wanted to build trust with staff because the situation I walked in really required that, especially when the district has told me that you need to go in and clean up the culture. I had to build trust. So I felt like that's what I needed to do. And some leaders may feel like it keeps them informed about what's going on in the building, keeping a pulse, right? I get it. We want to be the leader our staff feels comfortable coming to. But what actually happens when you have your door always open, you never get deep, focused work done because you're constantly interrupted. Your staff leans on you for every little thing instead of solving something on their own. And your leadership shifts from strategic to reactive. You spend your day putting out fires instead of preventing them in the first place, right? So I want you to think right now about your last week and be honest with yourself. This is a really good time for you to pull out your Lead Beyond Limits Confidence and Clarity workbook. If you don't have it, shoot me a DM and I will send you the link. It's absolutely free. This is a good place to use that workbook so you can reflect on this right now. How many times were you pulled into something this week? Well, last week. I'm sorry, not this week because it's Monday, but last week. How many times were you pulled into something that should have never been on your plate? Now, honestly, how many times? I need you to think about that. How many times or how many of those things could have been handled by somebody else? Right. Once you look at that number and you realize that, then you start to see like, okay, something needs to change. So go ahead and drop a yes in the chat if this is hitting home to you. If you're watching the replay or you're live, drop a yes in the chat if this is hitting home. Okay. Let's talk about how you can begin to control your narrative, meaning setting the standard. And controlling your narrative is one of the things we focus on here in our Lead Beyond Limits series. So let's talk about how you can control your narratives and shift the gears. Okay, here's what we can do to shift the gears. And I want to show you a diagram in a second, but I want you to hear me first, right? So here's how we can shift the gears. If you want to lead with confidence, we have to have control of our time. Otherwise, everyone else will have control of your time if you don't have control. So the first step is implement something called structured availability. Instead of being available all day long, a revolving door, set specific hours of the day for your staff to ask you non-urgent questions. What this will do is it'll teach staff to be more intentional about when and how they bring concerns to you. So for example, you can say from 8 to 10 a.m., I focus on instructional planning, right? If you need me outside of that time, I'll be available. I will be available from 2 to 3, right? You can put something on your door, even though I have worked with some clients who have the doors closed with a do not disturb sign and people still walk in. That's another story. Okay. So that's the first thing is you need to set structured time, your structured availability, and let everyone know when they can come and see you. Can't talk to you right now, but I will talk to you during my open window at 2 to 3, right? If you need me outside of this 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. focus time, come and see me at 2 to 3, from 2 to 3. The second thing you can do is create a problem-solving chain. Okay, let me share this diagram with you so you can get an idea of what I am speaking of. So create a problem-solving chain. Okay, your problem-solving chain of command is critical. Most of you have walkies. Your time should be focused on instructional leadership, not administrative details. So who should be the first stop for certain issues before they get to you? You should not be the first person that people come to see, right? For example, if a teacher needs help ordering something, that should really go to someone else, the office manager, the school secretary. That's not the principal's role to help with that, right? Make sure that, for example, using your walkie, all of you on your leadership team have structured times where you are the go-to person. You create a schedule where who's the go-to person on this day at this time. So if someone has a question about something, we know to direct that person to the assistant principal on the leadership team from the hours of 9 to 11, right? It requires a schedule. I know it sounds very detailed and like too detailed of a schedule, but I'm telling you, it will buy back the time that you lose because you don't complete your tasks. And I know because I've been there. Okay. Another step that you can do is respect the system. Teach your team to respect the system that's created this schedule, right? So when you're setting boundaries is one thing, right? But enforcing them is another. We can say something all day long, but if we don't walk the talk, it's not going to happen. So when someone tries to walk into your office with outside of your availability, redirect them. And listen, this is the part. But I know that this is the hard part, right? But if you make one exception, you'll end up making 20. Now, naturally, I'm not talking about fires. I'm talking about staff coming to ask you general questions, staff coming to figure out what you're doing for the event on Saturday, staff, coming in to ask you about, when the grade books are due. Like, what? Redirect that to somebody else so that you can do what you have on your list to do. Okay. So you can see from the diagram here, like how to manage your open door policy effectively, your office hours, establish specific times for staff to approach, ensuring availability and reducing interruptions. Other channels. Encourage staff to use alternate communication methods before approaching, which will help promote independence. Reinforce boundaries, model and enforce, right, the policy to maintain structure and accountability. Right? So I'll tell you what worked for me. If someone came to me outside of my available time, I didn't ignore them. Right? That's not what you want to do. You just want to set the boundary. So I'd say something like, I'd love to help you right now, but I'm focused on getting this thing done. Right? Can you bring this back to me during my office hours, or check in with AP Jones? They can help you. Right? And then you can shoot AP Jones a message on the walkie. Teacher A is coming to see you about so-and-so, so that AP Jones is not taken aback by the teacher. Okay. So that small shift can change everything. It stopped people from assuming that I was available all the time. And it taught them to go to other people first, the right people. I'm not the person you're supposed to be coming to about this. Right? All right, real quick. I want you to think about your day today. Think about your own day, not today. Let's think about your own day. What's one boundary you need to put in place? I want you to drop it in the chat or shoot me a DM or write it down for yourself in your Lead Beyond Limits Confidence and Clarity workbook. What is one thing that you need to put in place? One boundary. Okay? Because you're going to work on that this week. Now, to help you lead with confidence, you're going to need to enforce this standard. So, confident leaders own their time. They don't wait for permission to protect their calendar. They create structure that allows them to lead effectively. So, when you shift from being always available to intentionally accessible. Let me say that again. You're going to shift from being always available to intentionally accessible. A couple of things are going to happen. You actually get to focus on the things that matter. Your team learns to problem solve instead of relying on you all the time, right? Building those critical skills. And then third, you step into your role as a strategic leader, right? Instead of an on-call troubleshooter. You'll start to see the shift, but you have to commit to it. And that's the hard part again, right? Like committing to it. So here's what I want you to do for the rest of the week. I want you to track how many interruptions you get that should have gone to someone else this week. Because I asked you at the beginning to think about last week. But now I want you to actually capture some data. I'm going to have some data in here somewhere. Track how many interruptions you get that should have gone to someone else. I want you to identify the top 3 things that consistently break your focus. What are the top 3? And then the third thing I want you to do is to commit to setting a boundary around one of them. Let me repeat that. You're going to track how many interruptions you got this week that should have gone to someone else. You're going to identify the top 3 things that consistently break your focus. And the third thing is you're going to commit to setting a boundary around one of them for next week. Jot this down in your Lead Beyond Limits Confidence and Clarity workbook. Okay. Start small. You don't have to change everything overnight. But I promise you, if you start reclaiming your time, you will feel a massive difference in how you lead. Okay. So now let's talk about how I can support you in making these changes. Because here's the truth, like boundaries, leadership confidence, and time management, they don't fix themselves. They require some strategy and some structure, right? And when you're immersed in the work, it's hard sometimes to see the structure. And I help leaders that to build that every single day, the strategy and the structure. So if today's session, short but impactful, if today's session hit home for you and you're ready to take back control of your leadership, here's how you can work with me. One-on-one coaching. I work directly with school leaders to help them build systems and boundaries, right? That protect their time while strengthening their staff's leadership capacity. That is the biggest piece that I work with one-on-one coaching. If you're tired of feeling stretched thin and want a clear plan on how to move forward, then this is for you, the one-on-one coaching. Another way that you can work with me is working with your leadership team. I do leadership team workshops. I lead workshops on setting boundaries, decision making, empowering your staff to handle challenges without everything landing on your desk. So if you want your leadership team to level up, let's talk about bringing a workshop to your school or district. Diagnose and prescribe is another service, another way that you can work with me. Sometimes you just need a fresh set of eyes on what's not working, right? So I review documents, master schedules, agendas, staff structures, and decision-making processes, right? To identify any gaps that are there, highlight the impact, and then give you clear next steps for improvement. So if you feel stuck and want a targeted plan and don't have enough time for one-on-one coaching, this is the fastest way for you to get clarity, the diagnose and prescribe. And then you can also work with me with AI. I train school leaders in how to use AI. So if you're looking for real solutions on how to save time yourself, I also teach leaders on how to use AI to streamline their work, their communication, to help automate some tasks. And naturally, when you have more time, you're not feeling rushed and pressured. You have the ability to make clearer and better, stronger decisions. So here's the next step. If you're interested in coaching, having a workshop at your school, or the diagnose and prescribe review, schedule a call with me. I'll put it in the comments. If you want to join my next AI training for free, it's happening April 23rd at 7 p.m. It's on a Wednesday evening at 7. I just had one last weekend on the 15th, which turned out really well. And I'm doing another one, the same one. So if you came to the one on the 15th, you don't have to come to that one unless you want to sign up for VIP. So I'm having the next free AI masterclass for school leaders on April 23rd at 7 p.m. free. That is at www.drivenllc.com, /AI masterclass. Let me say that again, and I'll put it in the comments. So it's drivenllc.com /AI masterclass and register. And if you're not sure what you need, but you know you need support, email me at demia.thomas@drivenllc.com, which is on your screen. And let's figure it out together. Like, this is the springtime, testing season is coming up. This is the time when you are intentionally being proactive about what shifts need to happen for next year. Because listen, you don't have time to keep like being drowning in work because of interruptions and distractions. You can take control of your time. And when you do, your leadership and your life, I'm telling you, it will change. It did for me. So that's all I have for today. Today was really short. I'm hoping that this was really meaningful for you. Hit me in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are. Next week, I have a special guest Kristen Wallace. She's been in education for over 14 years, working in urban schools and districts and just doing her thing. She's an amazing teacher. I can't wait to have a conversation with her with you live. I will schedule the event so that you have it on your calendar, or you'll see it pop up as you are checking this replay. So in the meantime, I want you to just keep going, keep going, keep leading, keep growing, and keep protecting your time. You deserve it. Okay. Have a fantastic evening, everyone. Thank you so much for checking in. Don't forget to hit me in the comments and let me know what you're thinking. Have a good one.